Hi, friends. All right, so we are starting on our scenic drafting package project, okay? So this is a relatively big project in like several different pieces, several different plates. We are starting with plate one, which as you've heard in the scenic how the scenic drafting package works video, that's going to be our ground plan. And the concept I came up with for this assignment was to approach this through the lens of a task I often have to do as a scenic designer, which is when I am given a like kind of nonsense drawing, right? You'll find this plate in your packet that you have. I'm given this like kind of nonsense drawing, right, that someone drew in Microsoft Word that has a grand total of 2 dimensions on it, right? It has a width of the stage and a depth of the stage, and that's it. And then I have to convert that into some sort of actual scaled drafting that I can then design a set within. Okay? Um, so that's what I have done. Okay? I've given you this sample drawing, which is actually in 3/16 inch scale. So if you want to like go to your 3/16 inch side of your scale rule and measure some things, you can. So that is an option open to you to go to 3/16 and be like, how big is this thing? Right? But you can also use your knowledge or my knowledge, because it's coming right now, to create some estimates on some of these sizes of things, right? Because some of these things are standard, like depths and widths and etc. Okay, so examples of that, right? And we can see them looking at this drawing and also looking at this sample drafting I've created. One thing that is standard typically is the width of a door, right? So in a venues type space, a door is generally going to be 3 feet wide because that's required by fire code. So if you see a door in a venue, it's 36 inches, pretty much standard, okay? So you know that those are all 36 inches wide. We know that the width going across is 17 feet, and we know that from the nonsense drawing. So we know that this dimension here is 17 feet, right? We know that this dimension here is 13 feet, right? We know that generally risers are going to be 3 feet. That's about the minimum. So each of these steps will be about 3 feet. And if we take a look at this door, right, and we look at it over here, if the door itself is 36 inches, then it's likely that the actual opening hallway situation is about 4 feet. Okay. It looks like we have about 8 feet of space in this room back here, and these are all just sort of estimates that I'm pulling out of my head right now. But you can also go in and measure my sample drawing in order to come up with what your dimensions need to be. Now, your sample drawing is in 3/16 inch scale. Your final drafting plate will be in 1/4 inch scale, as it says right there, okay? And for our building wall, right, our exterior, interior walls, right, around the outside, we are going to use this section style. And that is drawn here in our section guidelines, right? It gives you some standards to consider from our book. And then you'll also see there are other drafting standards that we apply when we work, right? I will typically use this kind of flat drawing where I actually draw the thickness as opposed to just drawing lines. And that's because I'm drawing usually a hard-covered flat, which has a certain amount of thickness. It's usually 3 inches thick, 2.5, 3 inches thick. And so that will read with that dimension on a ground plan anyway. I also draft with a computer and it does it for me. But when we draw, it's a good idea to do that. The other option, the other thing that you're not seeing in this drawing, but that you would want to have, are these dashed lines. And a dashed line indicates that there's something overhead, like an archway. So on any of these doorways, in addition to the leaf of the door, right, and a swing line, you would also draw dashed lines to indicate that there is an overhead, okay? So you would break these thin lines and you would break those horizontal lines with a dashed line for that purpose. Typically, as you can see, the outside walls are going to be a heaviest line weight. Things like the dashed lines and the swing lines are a lighter line weight, whereas the door leaf itself would be a heavier line weight, okay? So that is the basics of thinking about drafting your plan view. You will also use your standard title block that we've been using. So you'll put that title block on your drawing and we will go from there. Let me see if I have, I think I did at some point. Yeah, it would look about like these plates on your elevations drawings, right? You can see that there's that title block down in the corner. So you can look through this whole package, these whole 4 plates, to see sort of where we're headed, but all that is due on Friday of this week is a single plate drafting of the ground plan of the theater space. And while it's oriented vertically here in your actual drawing, you want to run it this way. You want to run it left to right down the page so that it fills the page most effectively. So that is what you want to start with. The thing that will take the most time is all these little diagonal lines for your section view. But the secret for that is that you can set up your T-square and then run your triangle along that edge, right? So if I have my T-square set up, I can run my triangle right along that T-square and just draw those diagonals on both sides as I slide it horizontally across my T-square. So that is the secret of the many, many 45-degree angle lines. So you'll practice getting that spacing even. And yeah, no dimensions on the ground plan, okay? You want to just draw it so that it looks like this outline, except with those dashed lines for the overhead deal. Let me know if that makes sense or if you have any questions. And I will be available for office hours and on Slack if you want to check in about anything or any other of your projects. I am around. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.